cult classic, action movies, shows, and the artists who helped make them. This is Action Gems.
And welcome everyone, I am Matt Kohler and this is Action Gems, where we find them and you watch them. Now, today's guest is a little bit different than our last two guests where we focused on Mortal Kombat Conquest. This is a little bit of a sneak peek on Richie and I's friendship, where it started 10 years ago with a little movie called Samurai Cop. Now, some of you might have not heard of it. Some of you may have heard of it and love this movie like we do. It is one of the best, so bad it's good movies. And with us today is the man that was there, the man that reacted to everything, the best reaction in the world, Mark Frazer. And here he is.
As I mentioned to you the other day, I have a very good education. I went to Columbia University and got an MBA from there. Mm-hmm. That's a master's in business. And then I became an executive at CBS. They sent me to St. Louis. At that time, there was only, I think, about 3 stations on the air. I was like ABC, CBS, and NBC. And by law, they're allowed to own, they call it O&Os, owned and operated stations around the United States. So there was an opening in St. Louis, Missouri. So I went there. I'd never been to the Midwest before. It was quite a shock for me because I was a New Yorker. I grew up in New York, raised in New York. So it took some adjusting, and I was there for about 18, 19 months. And then I went back to New York, and I stayed with CBS for another few years. And I made a lot of money. It's a very, very lucrative position, but it wasn't really creative, and I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I know I didn't want to stay there anymore. I was just so bored. And I was a pretty good basketball player, but I was a little old at that time to play anymore, and also they didn't really have all these European leagues at that time, so it was only the NBA or that's it. I don't know, so I took a vacation and traveled, like I traveled the world for a long period of time, for like a summer or two. And then I just came back to New York, and as I said, I had a lot of money, so I just took my time trying to decide what I wanted to do. And I would hang out in New York, and I would see this guy at all these nightclubs and everything, and then I would see him on television. And eventually we became friends. And I said, "You're an actor, aren't you?" He said, "Yeah, yep." He said, "I've seen you on commercials and stuff." I said, "Well, how is that? What can you tell me about that? Because I'm just looking for something. I'm not quite sure what I want to do, but tell me what it's about." So he mentioned, he said he loved it. And in fact, he had a background like I did at a corporation, and he decided to change his life. So he was like, to me, it was like God sent. I just found this guy, and then I said, "Well, let me try this." And I didn't think I could do anything at all because I was a very shy person. I'm an only child. I said, "Well, I'll take on the challenge." And so I decided to do it. I took acting classes. And then eventually, after a couple of teachers, I found a very, very good teacher. His name was Win Handman. He's taught a lot of people. I can just go on like Denzel Washington. He taught, in fact, Denzel was in the morning class. I was in the evening class. Yeah, he taught... just Burt Reynolds. I think I can go on and on. He's probably taught anybody who came through New York. He's a very good teacher. I think he's passed away by now because he was pretty old when I met him. But we had some really good actors in that class, and that's how I got started. And then I decided, well, let me see if I can just get on television. So I got an agent, and I started doing commercials, and I just hit right away. I got a lot of commercials, national commercials, and the money just started pouring in, and it's almost like I wasn't doing any struggling at all. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, as I gained more confidence, I started to say, well, I really want to do something more than commercials, and so I started doing theater, and theater is really big in New York, and so I did theater, little plays around town and everything, and then they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I started auditioning for soaps, and then I finally landed one. I landed on the soap. It was called Another World. It's not on anymore, but they had some great actors there. So I mentioned to Richard the other day, Morgan Freeman was on that soap opera. Jack Day was on that soap opera. It's another guy who he's on this show. It's about Godfrey. Joe Morton. Joe Morton was on there.
Okay.
Like they had the best black storyline. I was like the newest guy on the street, so I really learned a lot from them. And that was on there for a while, and continued to do more theater. And then I said, well, I'm ready to go out to California now because I'm really entrenched in it. And so that's when I headed west. And LA is a completely different ball game than New York. The main difference that I've learned, and I haven't been in LA for quite some time now. I'm in Florida now. But what I've learned is it's really about the agents. Because in New York, you can freelance, which means the agents really work hard for you. Because you can be with more than one agent. I've had 5 or 6 agents. And so the one that got you in first for auditions, they would get the credit. So in California, it's completely different. You're only allowed to have one commercial agent, one theatrical agent, which is also like movies and TV.
Yeah.
And so they have more power than the talent. Because the talent has to wait for them to get you in. So that's because and I thought about it. I wondered why it was like that. But LA is just so spread out. It is so large, compared to like New York, because everything's based in Manhattan in New York. In fact, I remember I had a commercial. It was really popular. It was for Schick, and it was running like crazy. They just showed my face. And from that commercial one time, I got like 9 auditions in a day.
Jeez.
In New York. 9 auditions in one day because the commercial was just very, I just showed my face and I was smiling, it was funny. There's no way in the world you can do 9 auditions in Los Angeles because it's just spread out.
Yeah.
One thing is over here, and the other place is like 2 miles there. So that's probably why it's set up the way it's set up. So that kind of hinders the actor. And also there's more actors out there because they really want to do film. It's a film city and stuff like that. So again, also I mentioned to Richard the other day too that it's really LA is primarily a place of not what you know, but who you know. Mm-hmm. And once you find the right people, and they tend to use the same people over and over because they trust them, they know them, and stuff like that. So you have to get into a clique. So that was kind of difficult. Go ahead.
I apologize. I was just going to ask, what year was this when you moved out to LA?
I think it was in the 80s, latter 80s. And initially when I went out there, I tell you, because again, although I was somewhat used to the slower pace living in St. Louis, I still wasn't completely, I hadn't completely slowed down yet.
Yeah.
Because again, I was a New Yorker in my heart. And so I would come back to New York almost like every other weekend. It was so quiet. It was slow. Because New York is just it's noise all the time, hustle and bustle, and that's what you get used to.
Yeah.
So it took me at least a couple of years just to really kind of get used to LA, and eventually I ended up really loving it.
It's weird to say coming from New York to LA, because I guess I wouldn't think of that because both Richie and I are from the Midwest, and so anything bigger than 30,000 people, there's a lot of noise.
Well, I tell you, let me tell you something else too. Like recently, I had the good fortune of going into my high school Hall of Fame, and I went to St. Augustine High School in Brooklyn. I hadn't been to Brooklyn in ages, so I went back, and I hadn't been in New York in a long time, and it was amazing. I felt like I would feel like you did if you would go to New York coming from the Midwest. I forgot how close the buildings are, how many people it was there, and what's going on, the hustle and the bustle. Because I had forgotten about it because I hadn't been there in such a long time. Because I gotten used to it, to LA. Yeah, so then after that, let me go back. I got these agents, and they were sending me out a little bit, not that much. Really, again, you're just waiting around. In fact, I remember an actor friend of mine. I mean, Mark, you just, you got to do something and not just sit around waiting because this is not like New York. And it's really funny. I haven't seen my friend. His name is David Wells, and I happened to see him on a commercial. And you've probably seen it. It's a guy called. He's playing this he's talking to the little, we call it a lizard or whatever it is, and he's playing this night guard or something, and he says something because I've only seen it twice. I don't know what he's saying, but he's playing like a weird character. That was my friend David Wells.
Okay.
And so he encouraged me to start doing some more theater because a lot of New Yorkers are out in California, so we like theater. So I started getting involved with theater and just kept improving as an actor. And that's really helped me as I've gone through my journey by doing that because I'm really theater-based. Mm-hmm. So I got on some shows, did some big parts here and there, and I know you're waiting for Samurai Cop. so what happened was, it's so strange because everything is strange about it. One day, I got a roommate out there in California, and I was living with this guy, and he's an actor too, so we were just talking. And then I got a manager, in fact. Right before then, I just sent pictures out to different managers and agents and stuff, and so the number called me back, and then eventually I decided on this guy. I don't really think he's alive anymore. His name is Harvey Elkin. Really nice guy, and a hard worker. And that's the reason why I went with him. So he liked my look, he liked my background and everything. So he just started sending my picture out. He didn't really have great contacts, but he worked hard. He sent pictures out. So I tell you, one day I'm just at my apartment, and the phone rings, and on the other end, it's Amir Sivan, who's the director and producer of Samurai Cop. And he said, "It's Mark Frazer." I said, "Yeah." He said, "This is Amir." He says, "I'm doing a movie. I'd like for you to come out and I want to meet you, and we'll see what happens." I said, "Okay." He says, "It's a really good part. You're throughout the movie." I said, "Well, yeah, I'll be out when you want me out." He said, "Well, come out the next day." So I drove out there. I met him. We talked for a while. He said, "Yep, you're Frank Washington. We're shooting tomorrow." Just like that.
So that is the quickest turnaround ever.
Yeah. I said, "What?" He said, "Yep. You're here tomorrow. We start shooting tomorrow." I didn't even have the script. I didn't have anything. I was nervous. He said, "You're going to be out throughout the entire movie." So I'm going to be out the entire, because I haven't never really done a movie all the way through. I just had big parts. So I said, "Yeah." So I'm going to do it. As long as I have to do anything I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And
you met none of the other cast before the day of.
No, I didn't know anybody.
And you didn't have time to be nervous.
So was the interview very casual? Was it just like him and you and?
Yeah, it was just me and him. I don't remember anybody else there. I didn't read. I didn't do anything. We just talked. We just like, how's the weather? How you feeling? What's going on?
That's amazing.
What won him over was when you answered what's going on.
Oh God!
I tell you, I was just winging it. He was a nice guy. I was, I just took it in, and I said, "Okay, do you have a script?" He said, "Yeah." So he gave me a script. I looked at it, and I went through it, and it just seemed wild, whatever. He said, "Don't worry about it. Just show up tomorrow, and we'll get started."
So that's a good sign.
So I said, "Okay, all right, whatever." So I came back home I told my roommate, I said, "Hey man, I got a part in the movie. I'm in the movie and all the way through it." He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I got this movie." He said, "Wow." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Hey, I'm going down there tomorrow. We're gonna start shooting tomorrow." He said, "You're shooting tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah, we're shooting tomorrow." Obviously, I didn't sleep that night. I tossed and turned. In fact, it reminded me somewhat of my first day on Another World, and my first scene was with Morgan Freeman.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, but he wasn't a big star at that time, but he was really big in New York. In fact, he was one of my idols.
Wow.
And I really admired him. You know, I read about his upbringing and his story and everything. And so, I was extremely nervous when I was auditioning with him. Or not auditioning, but actually doing the part early in the morning before they shot the scenes.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt going over to this samurai cop situation. Didn't know anything. I didn't know the character. I just kind of glanced at it because he said, "Don't worry about the script." Because obviously things change. Things are going to change. And I off the cuff. So and I get there and then I see these people and the cameras and everything. And I said, wow. So then the first scene that I shot, and what I did, because it came across pretty good, was when I'm telling Joe Marshall to watch out, the guys are after him or something, and I'm like in this, because I have my own clothes or something, like a jacket on or something, and it's really intense and everything. Because what happened, I was extremely nervous, so I'm just using this nervous energy to put this into the character, because that's what it called for.
Oh.
Because I'm trying to warn Joe, they're coming after you. Something like that. So I just put that in and it worked really well. So that's how it started. And I didn't know the character yet or anything. And then eventually I kind of found the character after reading the script. And they had finally got the script together a little bit. And I remember in class it said that the acting teacher said there's clues in the script to learn the character. That's what was in my mind. So eventually I just kept reading it over and over. So then now I'm understanding Frightened Washington. And during this time with Matt changed his last name. It's Caritas now, I believe. Matt Caritas.
Mm-hmm.
Not Matt Hannon anymore. He lived right around the corner from me. I found that out.
Oh.
And I'm not a great driver coming from New York. So he would pick me up. He lived around the corner. So he would drive me over to the set where we would go. So that's how we developed this chemistry, because we would talk while he was driving. We learned about each other. And I really believe that it crossed over into the movie.
Absolutely.
Because, he was a really nice guy, so we just got along really well. And he would pick me up almost every time. We'd have scenes together, practically every day, because we're in the entire movie. So that's how that started. And if you want to interject something, you can, because I can go on and on, because there was so much that happened. Please, draw my memory so I can remember, because I was telling Rick what was happening.
It's so fascinating, especially because the first scene that you're in is almost one of the final scenes, if I remember right, Richie. Is this like the first scene that you're in is probably the most intense scene, I would say, for the character, which seems a weird place to start for you as Frank Washington.
Because you had just came like, within a knife's slice of your member, losing your member, and then you had
that thing. That was in fact, when we got to that scene, he really wanted me to be naked, and I told him, "You got to be nuts, man. I'm not taking off all my clothes. Are you crazy? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing any porn." They had one porn star in it, and but I said, "I'm not doing that." So he said, "Okay." But at that time, that was later on, because I knew that he couldn't fire me because I had so much footage, and I think he could see that myself and Matt were clicking. I said I wasn't going to take off all my clothes. So that's how that started. So we kept on this bathing suit. I had all these, or briefs or whatever I had. They were black. And, so that's how they set up that scene.
What was it like to work with those guys? Because that dialogue must have been kind of uncomfortable. I mean, on top of the fact that like this dude's pretending to be holding on to it, and he says the infamous line, "I could relieve you of this gift, this black gift."
Yes, we had conversations with Amir, and that's like talking to the wall. He said, no, say it like that. I want you to say it like that. I wrote, say it like that. So he goes, some things don't make any sense. I don't care, say it like that. So I said, all right, okay. And I know Matt and him would really go at it sometimes, I think, it doesn't make any. Say it the way I wrote it. Say it.
Oh my God.
So that's what we did.
Great compromising there.
Yeah, it was like, because I've worked with some really good directors, and they want your input. They want, he didn't really want our input too much.
Well,
but after a while, after we felt comfortable, myself and Matt, we just showed our personalities, and again, that's when it started to really, I think, pick up, and it started to seem like it was a bit real. Then we really, we became really professional, although we could tell that it's just so odd, the movie, and also not doing that many movies, we didn't really know, what's really going on, but we could feel it, but we didn't know for sure, because we had nothing really to judge. Because this is completely different from television like I've done, and it was nowhere near doing the theater pieces I'd done. It was like its own separate animal.
So when did you realize, I guess, you and Matt, like, okay, like, this is what this is, and because it seems like at a certain point, like I know there's a couple times where Matt completely changes attitude in a scene. When you guys are in the restaurant and he has this long speech, and you can clearly tell he's looking at cue cards on purpose. Like, when did that point happen for you?
Well, we had a place called Carlos and Charlie's, which I don't know if it's still there in LA. In fact, I used to go there sometimes and hang out. It was like a restaurant, nightclub. I guess he rented it out for that day. I don't know, it was, at that time, I knew the character. Mm-hmm. I think Matt wasn't as a seasoned actor as I was, so I could tell that he was just going through what he had memorized. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could tell. Okay, so I was just giggling and laughing, and I wasn't serious because that's a part of what I thought Frank was at that time. Frank Washington, he's a hard worker, but he's a fun guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the dialogue is so terrible. It's terrible. But you had to say it. You had to say it. You wouldn't get paid. You wouldn't get any money. So we had to do it. We had to do what he said.
He was holding you hostage.
Yeah, I know. That's like torture. It's like I
studied with all these great teachers and stuff, and being a serious actor. And then God says me this whatever Samurai Cop was, I was telling Richard the other day that after we finished everything, first of all, it was finished, and there were some tough shoots. Like sometimes we were all over LA. I didn't really know LA at all, and some days we're out there I didn't even know where I was. We're out in the sun. It was just terrible at times. And so when we kind of finally finished, or we thought we were finished, so there we go. And then, we don't hear anything. He doesn't give us any tape or anything. Nothing. So he just manages to call. He doesn't pick up his phone. I can't get a hold of him. I don't have to call Matt. And I don't know what's going on. So then, because he ran out of money. So then later on, I don't really know how many months later, but I get a call from Matt, and he says, he wants to pick it up again. He has a few shots he wants us to do, and wants us to come back and finish it. I said, I thought we were through. He said, no, we're not finished. I thought about it for a while. I really want to go through this again. And plus, I said, well, I still want to get some tape because that's, get some tape on myself that I was in a movie so I can go sell it to try to get another job. So I said, okay. I said to myself, yeah, I'm going back. So I went back. Matt picked me up. He drove out there. And we found out it's almost we had to do the whole movie all over again because he had screwed it up so much.
Well,
and this is when I told him Matt had cut his hair because he was going to be a regular looking actor, not long hair.
right.
And he had to go get a wig.
So you guys had to go through all of this. Did Amir ever explain what had been messed up so bad the first time around?
Not to me. I didn't hear anything.
He just said it wasn't right. We got to do it, most of it over.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
man.
And again, I was new. I didn't want to cause any waves. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to do this and get it over with. And tell him that, are you going to give me my tape? Just give me some tape, Dad. That was my main objective. Because I was saying towards the end, he ran out of money. We weren't even getting paid anymore.
Oh. So wait, you did this? You redid it for free this time? So you got paid the first
not
time?
the whole thing, but towards the end, we weren't getting paid towards the end.
Oh, wow.
Because he didn't have any more money. That's what he told us anyway.
Yeah.
And I was telling Richie the other day, I learned this from Matt, that I think it cost maybe $30 or $40,000 to make this movie, and he made $300,000 to $400,000 off of that movie because he sold it. He wasn't going to release it in the United States, but he had contacts throughout Europe and the Middle East, and he made a lot of money off of that movie. We didn't make anything.
Jeez, that's. Well, first off,
It really wasn't fair to the actors, I don't really think he had that much regard for actors. You can tell by the way.
Well,
We have to
forcing
do
you to
it.
say that amazing dialogue. I wonder why.
well, I remember listening to one of the Matt Hannon interviews, and he was talking about how his first scene was his sex scene with Jennifer, and so he basically describes Amir's direction as just like him like whispering into Matt's ear, like, now caress her, Matt. So
Matt would tell me that, because I wasn't there during those scenes, that I think he got his jollies off of these scenes, these sex scenes, because Matt would tell me that when he would do these scenes that Amir would be right to his right. Because he had a cameraman, so he didn't have a camera. So it was right there in the scene, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like Matt's on this bed with the girl, and Amir's right to his right.
In some ways, I'm glad, you weren't there, but also, just to see what, how awkward that must have been for them.
Can you imagine?
Did you ever have to experience any of that with Amir? Like when you were doing one of your scenes, like him just, I guess, being Amir?
Well, I would feel uncomfortable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, primarily, yeah. When they wanted to castrate me, I felt uncomfortable like this, and then I was like, because it was so racial too, We're gonna cut off the gift, the black gift. Yeah, let me tell you, like a side note, because of this scene, every time I'd show up on the set, they stopped. They didn't call me Mark anymore. They called me the gift.
Oh my God.
Here comes the gift. You come the black gift, and you show that. Here comes the gift. Here's the gift.
That's terrible.
Oh, God. It was so many funny things. Another thing I remember, too, I mentioned this to Richie, too, that, Matt, do you recall the time when we're at this beautiful house and Joe Marsh was climbing over the fence and I'm going under?
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the first clips we saw.
Why do I go under? I said, well, I'm an undercover cop. Which I think is a funny line, and also Amir did write that line. There was no ad lib or anything, because most of it was hardly any ad libbing at all. But that was one of the things that he definitely wrote. And so we all think that this house that he had like bought it for the day or something. We never went inside; it's just the front.
Yeah.
I learned later that he didn't even know who lived at the house.
So you're like pretty much breaking and entering.
Right. I mean, I'd say sometimes we had to run from the cops because he didn't have a permit to shoot. We'd hide the camera.
Jeez. So what were the other actors, like the ones that were like on there for like a day? What were their thoughts about what was going on with this?
Well, they didn't say too much. They didn't complain. A lot of them were really funny, but like I said, that was one of the good things about this. They just told jokes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The complaints were like, we kind of kept them to ourselves. There was, if I recall, there wasn't any blow-ups or anything. All the actors were really hungry. They just wanted to get something done. Mm-hmm. And again, that's why I think it became this hit, because we worked hard, we tried hard.
Yeah.
We were very professional, so there wasn't any tantrums or anything like that. We just accepted it.
Yeah.
Because that's just how it was, and that's what we did,
You're just making the best out of the situation.
Right. Knowing that it would come to an end one day, so we just went through it. And there were good moments, it's a lot of laughter.
Oh.
I call him like a lovable tyrant, because he had a lovable side. He was funny, but he was also strict. He knew what he wanted from his perspective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at least in some ways, he did have a vision.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to give him that.
And it definitely helped.
Gregory Tanaka, the one who did produce and directed the second one, thinks Amir's a genius. That's what he said. I think Amir's a genius.
I don't know if I think that.
I said, you think he's a genius?
I mean, there is definitely some genius to casting people like the Costa Rican waiter.
I think that's one of the guys who helped produce his movies. He was a money man, I heard.
Oh.
He put up a lot of the money. That's probably why he was cast.
Oh, he's a brilliant person, because that character's crazy.
That was one of the first scenes that we had seen from that movie, because like I was saying the other day, we didn't see the whole movie for like a year, so we were just watching just disjointed clips on YouTube, and one of them, and so naturally one of them that we were always quoting was, "She's the boss."
Yeah, we always looked up this scene on YouTube, Samurai Cop versus the Costa Rican waiter. It's just the dialogue scene between them, but like it was like that and the horny nurse scene that we would have to watch, and it took, like Richie said, a year to finally watch the whole thing, which I think we had to watch with someone else's commentary over it the first time, if I remember right, Richie.
Yeah, I think it was just a couple of drunk YouTubers just having fun with Samurai Cop, and we're like, oh, yeah, this will do for now.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things on the internet now about Samurai Cop. Everybody reviewing it and people getting together. In fact, there's I mean, it's all over. It's all. I was telling Rick. I mean, it's all over the world now. I mean, it just keeps going and going and going. As I said, I really think it's going to be like a Rocky Horror Picture Show because the people just love it. And there was times like when I found this out that it was blowing up like this, and all these people are loving this movie. And I was in Florida at the time, and I said I was getting emails on Facebook from places like London and London, England, and Spain, and Croatia. Switzerland, Sweden, all over the world. And these people said, "Oh, we love this movie," and everything. And then eventually, I got they got a hold of me when they started thinking about Samurai Cop 2, and they flew me back to LA. And I remember they had a midnight showing of Samurai Cop, and the place, it was in West LA, and I used to live right around the corner from this theater. I never knew that I'd be appearing on the screen in this theater. It was a really great theater. It sat about 500 people. That night, we had at least 400 to 500 people at 12 o'clock midnight. The place was packed to watch Samurai Cop.
Jeez.
I couldn't believe it.
So that felt like the true premiere for you then.
Huh?
All those years later, that night felt like the true premiere of Samurai Cop for you.
Right. And then when we did Samurai Cop 2, we did have a premiere, and that was sold out the first night and the second night.
Oh, wow.
Dang.
For the second one, because everybody loved it because it was, they were just pumped up, but it kind of fizzled later on, as you could tell with Samurai Cop 2. It doesn't have the legs like Samurai Cop 1 does.
Oh, no. Richie and I have watched Samurai Cop 2 once, and we've seen Samurai Cop at least once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's become an annual tradition to watch that movie, and then we always find new things in the movie that we just have never seen before or thought we saw. So, and one thing Richie and I actually wanted to ask you about was, do you remember the scene where Fujiyama sends in New Yorkers to go kill the samurai cop?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you did ADR for that scene, correct?
That's what they say. It's my voice. I heard it, but I don't remember. I don't remember doing it. But I know it's my voice. That's the only thing I don't remember about the movie. I mentioned that to Richard the other day. I don't remember doing that. But I know it's my voice. It sounds like me.
Do you remember
don't remember doing it.
So do you remember if you had to do a lot of ADR? Like if it was something besides the guy that Matt Hannon says looked like Walt Disney?
I couldn't hear you. What?
Oh, I was saying, do you remember doing ADR for other characters besides for the old guy that looked like Walt Disney in that photo lab?
See, that's my voice. I don't remember that either. I don't remember doing it, but it sounds like my voice.
But
look at the film. I just don't remember doing it.
But
I searched my brain, so I don't know. I really don't know how that happened.
It's all good. We just really love the New Yorker scene because you would think like characters who are explicitly supposed to be from New York would, kind of have like a New York accent, but well, you being from New York especially, you probably didn't think it was too accurate of a depiction.
Well, just a little bit with him.
No, not at all. Every day someone new would show up. We just, hey, how you doing, man? Oh, well, okay. And then we'd go about our business. And so then we wouldn't see them anymore. And that was that. And as we kept shooting, the number of people dwindled and dwindled and dwindled. Eventually, it was just myself, Matt, and Amir.
Oh, wow.
He's running out of money, man. He was running out of money.
So it was you, Matt, and Amir, the Holy Trinity. Because
check this out, though. What's happening? What's going on now is that the nurse scene, when I'm making these faces, glasses because my face now is like with these the grins and frowns or whatever I'm doing there. It's all over the world. In fact, I'm getting they're putting it on T-shirts now. And a fan of mine showed it to me, and I'm not getting any royalties or anything.
Oh. Well,
It's on T-shirts. It's on T-shirts. It's on mugs. It's on blankets,
clocks? Like grandfather clocks, or just like all kinds of clocks?
Round clock, regular, big clock. I mean, it's on all these items. And so I'm gonna have to get a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then just when I make that face, it's on all these items.
You should. And that's your likeness. That's your creation.
Right. And they don't say Frank Washington. There's Mark Frazer. Mark Frazer.
Oh.
I can't. I don't own Samurai Cop, but I own my face.
Right.
I looked into that. I own my
You played
likeness.
the character.
Huh?
And you played the character, so I mean, you own a part, or at least you.
But you can't. In fact, I can only be. They own. In fact, really, who owns Samurai Cop is Amir's son. He's a lawyer. He owns Samurai Cop. In fact, Greg Hatanaka had to work a deal out with him to do this. He owns the rights to all of Amir's works. He says he's never going to sell them because it's his father, and it's Memento. So
Of course.
he owns it. I forget. I think his name is Ben. And he's not in it. He's not in show business at all.
So he wasn't really involved with the behind the scenes of Samurai Cop 2, aside from just here you go, here's the rights.
Yeah, the only thing that we got from Samurai Cop 2 is that we signed the contract saying that the character Frank Washington cannot be seen in any other situation except a Samurai Cop situation. Also, we had points for the movie, but it didn't do as well as the first one. But we did sell a number of units. So myself and Matt, we got some money. That we had a salary. We got much more than we did from the first one.
That's
of course.
good.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I mentioned there's a talk of Samurai Cop 3. But Greg, we wanted to do that. Matt didn't really want to do it because he thinks it was going to be the same thing. When you watch Samurai Cop 2, Gregory wanted to take it in a different direction. It's kind of dark, and I think also Matt thinks too that it should be light, like the first one, because it's just us chasing the bad guys. It's a popcorn movie.
Yeah.
Nothing really heavy. It's just a fun movie, and we think that's how it should be. If the third one's ever done. Again, it's all about money. So I haven't been back in LA in a long time. Hopefully I'm going to be back next month or a month after that and really find out that they were going to make a cartoon of Samurai Cop. And
Wait, what?
Tell me about that. Yeah, but nothing develops. I don't know.
Oh wow!
I mean, I think there is a way to do a Samurai Cop movie, just like how you said, where you do bring it back to the basics, because I think just because of how amazing the first one is, it's very easy to get giddy as a fan to make a sequel, and you're like, well, we want to put all this, we want to put this in there, we want to put Tommy Wiseau in there, and we want to have this crazy thing happen, and I can see how it'd be easy to lose that balance where you become too tongue-in-cheek and suddenly you're letting the audience in on the fact that you're in on the joke, when really you just got to play it straight. And
right, exactly, because when you watched Samurai Cop 2, and tell me if I'm wrong,
yeah,
and tell me also if I'm right, the best part, I believe, is like when myself and Matt are on the screen together, and we're trying to, chase the bad guys, or we're just goofing off. Because that's what I hear from the fans. They just like the camaraderie. They like how, the banter and stuff like that. I think it's good for race relations and everything. We're just, like guys trying to do the job. And again, that's what I hear from the fans. I just heard from fans the other day about, I wish you guys could do something again together. Like they don't even have to do Samurai Cop, just me and him together, you know?
Yeah, of course.
That'd be awesome because you guys have pretty good chemistry, and I mean, the best parts of Samurai Cop are you guys going to get the bad guys and the action sequences.
Yeah, like the exchange where you're right outside of Akamura's place, and Matt Hannon's going, looks like this is his last fuck, and then you go, well, let him finish it. And it like, I think that's just a great example of how you guys were just naturally funny, and I think you could make any script that's, I think, written in that vein of yeah, we know this is ridiculous, but we're making the best out of it, and we're very much committed to doing what we feel is a very serious movie, which in its own way makes it even more awesome.
Yeah, because when we had, I think it was Samurai Cop 2, we had this big audience for the premiere.
Mm-hmm.
So all the actors spoke, and then people would ask questions, and primarily we just said that we think why it works is that, you know, we're just genuine, you know, myself and Matt, and we just, and Matt mentioned something that was interesting, because he thinks that we're underdogs, so we're both very tall, and I'm like 6'5", Matt's like 6'3",
Oh, dang.
and we're very tall. There's a lot of short actors in Hollywood, and I mean the structure in Hollywood is it's star driven. You know, a lot of these guys are short. They don't want anybody taller than them. It takes away from their whatever they want to call it. You know, so it's real. Again, it's really not about it's all merchandising. It's all commercial. That's what Hollywood's really about.
Mm-hmm.
So like for us to get a break like this, and we didn't, again, see, it's all about the fan.
Oh, yeah.
You know, obviously we're going to give credit to Amir. He put it together, but I really think a lot of it was like luck. And, you know, it just happened the way it happened. And obviously it took like 20 years or something before they get any recognition. You know, because he didn't really, as I said, Amir didn't really want to market this to the United States because he didn't have any connections in the United States that I knew of. He knew that this was going exactly to the contacts that he had in Europe, Philippines, other places around the world. That's where he sold this movie. And I mentioned to Richie too. I think it's called L.A. Film Market or something. It's in Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
Amir took me down there one day. I think Matt went down another day. Some of the other actors, and this when foreign distributors would come to America to buy American movies. Mm-hmm. And so that was the initial market for Samurai Cop, was to be shown everywhere except America. You know?
Well,
it's so weird. But I mean, the entire, as you said before, the entire situation is weird. So, would you ever be interested to, play the character again and revisit, this world after what happened with Samurai Cop 2?
Yeah, if I had more control, if Matt had more control, because we talked about it, when we were talking, and because Matt went to Spain, he went to London, and we're really big over there. In fact, he brought his girlfriend over there. She called me from there. She said, "They love you over here."
Oh, wow.
They love us over there. So he made some contacts, but not enough to get enough money. He needed more money. And Matt's a really good writer. And
yeah,
he had things in his mind that he wanted to do. And so, again, it's not out of the. I would definitely love to play Frank Washington. I love Frank Washington. I was telling Richie today. I don't know if Richie. Well, I know Richie's on my Facebook page. He said, I'm getting awards. You see the awards I've gotten for Samurai Cop?
Oh, I see them.
Yeah. From these, there's like these movie organizations in these towns around the United States, and I get calls from them. They say they're going to have like a movie night and this and that, and we love Samurai Cop and all that. It's all about the fans because they love it. They love it to death, man. They used to have Samurai Cop parties in England. He said, tell me that they had drinking parties. Every time they would see Matt in a wig, everybody would take a drink.
That's awesome. Yeah, once in a while, Matt and I would have a viewing party of Samurai Cop, and it was always to introduce our friends, our like a different group of friends to it, and without fail, they enjoy it.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things I have on there, my Facebook page, is like my picture where I'm making a face is on the door of this woman's house in England. She was having a Samurai Cop party that night, so she told me she's going to put my picture up there on the door. So everybody comes in, they know it's going to have a Samurai Cop.
They know, they know they're in the right house.
The right place. I have those fans in Detroit. This guy, he put my face on a T-shirt, and he said, I'm not, he's not selling anything. These are diehard fans.
Man.
And it's like they just watch the movie over and over. They know every line of the movie. All the dialogue.
Yeah.
It's.
That's how Richie and I were. I mean, it got to the point that we would like do our own spin of the characters and have our own film our own stuff because of it.
Right.
In a lot of ways, Samurai Cop is almost its own genre. Like, I don't even know what to call it because it's just so different than everything else I've seen.
It doesn't fit anywhere.
It doesn't really belong in the same like, I know it's when I bring it up and I'll say what it's about, and then people will try to compare it to The Room or something, and I'll be like, no, like this is so different from The Room. Like, you may as well say that this movie's like The Godfather. It's just it's so different from any movie.
I haven't seen anything like it. I agree. I haven't watched it in a while. And it's funny. I was working on Samurai Cop 2, and one of the actresses said, how often do you watch Samurai Cop? And I really don't watch it that much. I haven't watched it. Maybe my entire time I maybe watched it maybe less than 5 times. Because I was there, I know everything about it. So I just don't. Not that because I know a lot of actors say they don't like to look at themselves. That's not my problem. I just don't have any.
You just experience it every day. You're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Which Richie and I would also agree with that because we're right now working on our own project, and I'm pretty sure when we release it, we're gonna go, yep, don't need to see that because I experienced it for the last couple of years. So
yeah,
I get it.
You want to. It's like this is if I don't really do anything else as an actor, you never know. Although I couldn't mention something because what's happening. This guy in Pennsylvania,
mm-hmm.
He doesn't have the money yet, so I really can't mention anything. But he's on Facebook too. That's how he found me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got Matt. He says he has Matt anyway. He has another guy. I don't know these guys. These guys are like in this genre, and I don't really know anything about this. I didn't even know this genre really existed. And he wants to put this movie together. But he's trying to raise the money, and it's going to happen in July or August if he gets the money.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be the first time that myself and Matt will be on screen again. But again, I don't know what's going to happen with it. That's why I can't mention the name of it or whatever. So I don't really know. And I'm wondering if I would. I think I would like because I would like to see Matt again.
We would too.
I don't know. Because again, I just think if Matt's not, I'm not a main character. I don't think Matt's a main character.
Mm-hmm.
So for us to be seen together, I think we should do something that's we just be with us. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Be the character. Because that's what sells.
Yep.
So I don't really know. I don't really know what's going to happen with that.
Well,
So I'm really trying to time down there because my mother passed and everything. And so I'm really just waiting to eventually go back to California. And I really want to see if I'm going to, I want to do something else. I really want to, because I want to do some more television.
would you be open to doing shorts or just different types of web series, things that aren't necessarily feature films? Because funding is always such a tricky thing, especially for indie full-length features.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, it depends on how good the stuff is or whatever.
Of course.
And the people. Because again, even during Samurai Cop 1 versus Samurai Cop 2,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about the people. It's about what you're doing. And again, Samurai Cop 1, that shoot was much more difficult than Samurai Cop 2. But when I look back on it,
Mm-hmm.
there were some really good moments. And again, I have to do this because as an actor, let's say I don't do anything ever again, or let's say I do things. This may be the situation that makes me the most known.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not gonna denigrate it. I'm not gonna say like I hate it. Because I don't hate it. I never said I hated Samurai Cop. I know it was crazy and everything, but I did have moments that had good times. There were bad times, but I just never. I did the best I could. But I feel like this, and then from how life is and the moon and the stars and everything that happened, it's just something that's incredible. That's never going to die. So you have to respect something like that, because I really believe that. Amir had no idea what this would be. If he was alive right now, he'd take full credit for everything. So I knew it was going to happen.
Well,
Yep, I know what I'm doing. Yes. I had no idea it would be like this. Because he did 5 movies. Nobody really knows. Samurai Cop is the biggest movie he had out of his 5 movies.
he did 5 of them? I thought he did like 2 over here. Because the only other one I know of is Killing American Style.
He did Maniac Cop with Robert Sedar.
Oh.
He worked with Robert Sedar a lot, who I really respect. He's dead now. But I really loved watching him work. He was such a professional and a great guy. Funny guy, too. Yeah, he did Maniac Cop. I think Amir did that. I think Amir did 5 movies, I believe.
Wow.
Samurai Cop was the most successful.
Which is the journey of this movie is, as you said, it's almost impossible to predict, because Richie and I first saw it, it was catching speed, it was picking up, and then we heard that apparently Matt Hannon was not alive, and because we were like, we gotta, it'd be so cool to talk to these people about this movie. And 2 years after that, he announces to the world that he's alive.
The story about that was that, because I thought he was dead too. We have, we're not best of friends, we're not enemies, but we live in different worlds. So
Yeah.
I thought he was dead also, because I remember I tell you when I went back to L.A. and that night when all these people were there for a midnight showing, I was talking about, like, I hope he rests in peace. And I miss him and all of this stuff, And so, and then one day, because I told Richie, see, what was going to happen after they found me on Facebook, what they were going to do another movie, because it was the Samurai Cop situation was growing, they were going to I was going to play Frank Washington again, and then the girl that her name is Caden Cross, who's a porn star, and also she's a really good actress, and she played Matt's love interest in Samurai Cop 2. She was going to play his daughter, and we were going to go out and try to find out who killed Joe Marshall. Mm-hmm. That was the premise of Samurai Cop 2 until Matt showed up that he was still alive. So then that turned everything around.
Right.
And I guess he got wind of this, I think, from his daughter. His daughter told him to do that. And he said, okay, well, because see, I was telling Richie too, when we finished this, and I called him trying to get film. I couldn't get anything. He wouldn't even answer the phone. And the only way we saw the film, Matt, I think he told me this, I'm quite sure that he snuck in and took a copy of something, because maybe he had butted up, Amir, and Amir gave him a copy. So I don't know, but he got a copy. So he called me over to his house one evening, and we watched it. And that was the first time I saw it. And it had the little numbers in the bottom and everything. Mm-hmm. And then I would keep calling Amir, man, give me a copy, and he would never return my calls. I didn't hear anything from him. I don't know what was going on, but he could have been really sick, because I heard he was really ill, and then eventually he died. Mm. So that was the only time I'd really seen the film. But then later on, I heard from a fan. I forgot his last name. His first name was Brian, and he said he had a copy. I said, well, send me a copy of the film, because I never saw it. I never saw it outside that time with Matt. So this guy sent me a copy, and then I watched it for the first time. And I mean, that's how disoriented it was. It was just, like, again, from the beginning until the end. And then when all these people started responding to this situation, and they're still responding to this and that. And believe me, I've searched my brain on why it works. I have no idea why it works. I have no idea. The only thing I come up with is that we tried hard. That's the only thing I can come up with.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, you are right. The movie is just so different. It's just on a different level than everyone else. Maybe Amir was onto something, and we just all are not on,
on his level. We're not on the genius level. We couldn't see his genius vision.
That's directors.
I mean, how many movies out there, can go 20 plus years, and then all of a sudden become this huge, massive hit? I mean, I've heard from other people talking about The Room, and Disaster Artist. Like, a lot of Oscar movies you kind of forget after a year, but something like Disaster Art or The Room or Samurai Cop. I mean, it's still popular.
Yeah, that's what this film reviewer, in fact, he's on my Facebook page from Sweden. He says how big it is, and he says the same thing. He said in his review, how many movies come and go, big budget movies come and go, and you never even remember them. You don't even think of them. But Samurai Cop stays with you forever. It always stays with you. And again, like you said, we're just saying you had your 8th anniversary of seeing Samurai Cop. And it's like people get together. I've heard people say this is one of their 5 best movies they've ever seen. It just hits somewhere. Somehow, it just hits to the heart, I guess.
I remember the night we had discovered it, because Matt and I had just gotten back from seeing that Liam Neeson wolf movie, Into the Gray, or The Gray.
The Gray.
And, I mean, it's a good movie, but I even better remember the clips from Samurai Cop that night, better than that entire movie, The Gray.
I took forgot we went to go see that movie.
Yeah.
That night.
Yeah.
Why do you think that? Why? What happened? What happened to you?
I think it's just because, a lot of times it has to do about, for me, like I said, Samurai Cop is just so different than anything I saw. I'm like, I have to see more of this. This movie is so crazy and ridiculous.
I mean, it was just chock full of characters. Even people who had like the guy Steve who you talked to. I mean, I've always wondered about Steve, just like who Steve is, and he's just like a guy that talks.
Who's Steve? Okay, who's Steve?
He's the police officer that you talk to after the horny nurse scene, and you're like,
oh, the guy and his eyes are bugging out and everything.
Yeah. Sir,
I know. We're doing this thing, talking to him. Maybe he was high on cocaine or something. I don't know. His eyes are going. It's hard for me to remember my life and looking at him.
Wait, say that again.
I know. Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
And like Richie and I would always have debates on who our top 5 favorite characters are, in which there's so many. I mean, outside of Steve, I mean, there's even people that just have like a line that you like. It's just ADR.
I mean, like going back to the New Yorker, the guy that goes, well, there's the one guy that comes in and he's not in my top 5, but he's the one that says, "Excuse me, the tall guy with the ponytail." So not him, but then the other New Yorker is in my top 5. The one whose ADR is so butchered, it goes, "Well, just a little business with him." Matt, who were your other favorite characters?
Obviously Steve is my number 1 favorite character.
You always say Steve.
Well, I mean, he's iconic, but the other, I really like Okamura. Is that how you pronounce?
Okamura.
Yeah, I really love him, and that fight scene between him and Matt Hannon is priceless because it changes location almost every shot. Like.
Yeah, and it's when they're out in the desert, and then like they're out in a field, and then they're out in the woods, and then I guess they're on someone's property that they're not supposed to be, and it's led to fan theories that we've had where we think, well, maybe Okamura was the most powerful one of the Katana gang because he had the power to just switch locations at will.
Did we lose him?
Possibly. Mark?
I think we did.
Oh. Well, I'll pause real quick.
But the other guy that I really like, who doesn't even have a line in the entire thing, is the Burn Man, who, when he's moaning in pain, I don't know what direction he was given because it sounds like he's just really erect and not in pain. But
when he got burned?
Yeah, so in the hospital when Robert Zadar is entering the hospital, he's under the covers. You just hear the Burn Man going, But yeah, the entire hospital thing might be one of the best parts of the entire movie.
Because I'm pretty sure. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, just everything in there is just nonstop craziness.
One thing I'm remembering now is remember when this guy catches on fire?
Yep.
And we got to put it out.
Oh yeah.
You remember that scene?
Oh yeah.
Do you notice how, like when, I don't know what happens with Matt's wardrobe, but my wardrobe, I'm in the car have a gray blazer on, I think, or a blue blazer. By the time I get to him to put out the fire on this guy, I have a different blazer on.
I did not know that.
I've never noticed that.
Check it out. Watch it again. Check it out. Because obviously you shot it 2 different days. But when we got to the scene where we're putting this guy's the fire out with this guy, we only did that 1 day. And that day was so spooky. And that guy who played that part was so spooky.
Really?
And also I would never do that again because that was real fire, and the fire was right in front of our faces.
Jeez.
We could have got burnt up. You know, I mean, it was, hungry young actors. We're doing everything.
Yeah.
But I remember saying, I said, something's wrong with this. This is not right. I was looking up at the sky. This is weird, man. Something's wrong here. And that guy who played that, because we lit him on fire, man. That's the only thing he did. I guess he's a stunt man.
Yeah.
And wow, it was like really strange.
Did he have like protective gear on, or?
They greased him up with something.
I mean, I guess that's good because.
Yeah, he didn't die. He didn't. Yeah, that's funny. We didn't have any mishaps on the scenes at all. Nobody got hurt. I tell you, something was like just with this movie. It was somebody overlooking this movie.
Yeah, in a very weird way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Right.
The other thing I was going to mention was the parking lot rumble, where you and Matt Hannon fight all of Zadar's goons. Is there any choreography involved with that, or was it just kind of this guy throws a punch, you kick him?
Was there any what?
Was there like any choreography? Like, did you guys have any rehearsal time at all, or was it just kind of on the spot?
Yeah, the rehearsal. Okay, you do this, you do that. That's it. But see, that scene, from my perspective, because that's when we blow up the cars. The car blows up or something, and then I said, "Man, slap him 5." From my perspective, that's when I felt that myself and Matt had found the characters. And found the camaraderie. That's what I felt. That was my favorite scene.
Oh.
And then he's saying we got birds or something. I mean, it's black or whatever, something like that, some stupid stuff. But for me, that was the scene that I said, yeah, we're buddies, and we're buddies. That's what I felt like right then by doing that. Mm-hmm. That's right. We cut off the guy's arm. That was one of Matt's friends. In fact, that guy used to be a bodyguard for O.J. Simpson.
Oh wow.
And I think how Matt even got the part, like this. I think that guy knew Amir, and I have a friend that could fit this part. And I think that's how Matt got the part. I really don't think Matt said he did read. He read a scene with the nurse. I think he said he read. But I think that's the only thing he did. I didn't read it all. I didn't do anything. I just showed up and talked with him for a while and came back home.
And you're Frank Washington.
Yeah, you're Frank Washington. That's it. Let's go. So, yeah.
So the horny nurse scene was Matt Hannon's audition scene. Wow.
Say that again?
So the horny nurse scene was Matt Hannon's audition scene.
See, when Greg Altanach was trying to, because he wanted to bring everybody that was in the first one who was somewhat prominent back into the second one, he couldn't find her. He couldn't find, it was only one really nude scene, and that girl was a porn star, but she was kind of shy, that's what I heard too.
Oh.
They couldn't find her. It took them a long time to find the guy who played the gay guy, but they eventually found him because he was in the second one. And then the girl who played Matt's love interest in the first one, she didn't want to do it. She's not acting anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he got a lot of the people.
Yeah.
But I think the problem. Then he brought in all these other people because I believe, from my perspective, this is what I thought about it. I think he's more of a producer more so than, because he really got all these factions together. You know, he's trying to satisfy all these people.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I think it didn't work because that's not really what Samurai Cop's about. But he was trying to bring in all these different audiences, like the porn audience, the Tommy Wiseau audience,
Right.
different audiences, you know, to try. And then like what's her name, Bai Ling, she has a heavy Chinese audience, and because you can think he's singing from a point of money, and I heard too that it was too for China, it was too risque, so that didn't work, you know, because there's a lot of risque stuff in there, you know. It worked in America, but it couldn't work in China. So her audience, and she has a big audience, man.
Yeah.
They won't run Samurai Cop in China. So, you know, that's why I think it didn't go over as well because, and again, as I'm listening to you now, I really believe that maybe Amir's talent was casting. That's really his real talent.
I mean, maybe he was just like, you know, I'm just going to talk to this guy if he, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, either, you know, maybe he did. Maybe you are right. Because, I mean, he somehow did a really good job of casting the leads with you and Matt and your chemistry and just working together. And, yeah.
And
But I do have one last question. Did Amir ever define what a samurai cop is?
What do you think? No, hell no.
I have.
No.
what is a samurai?
Greg tried to make it. He tried to take that step a little further. Because he did, you know, he tried to say that Matt understood some Japanese or whatever, and you know, that stuff. That he took it a little further. Amir didn't care. He didn't care about that. No. Everything is on a level of at the top. There's no deep thinking with Amir, as you can see.
Yeah.
It's just all at the top. It's action, running around, screwing women, and that's it.
And catching us some bad guys.
Yeah, you know, the good guys beat up the bad guys. That's all it is.
Yeah. And if it's
And
not
everything
broke,
everything else that happened was all by accident. That's how I think.
well, yeah, I'd say you pretty well answered all the questions that or really most of the main questions that we've been building up over this past 8 years. We definitely see Samurai Cop in a different light, would you say, Matt?
Yeah. Although, I mean, I still love the movie, so.
Oh, I still love it too,
Even
but
more.
it's nice to hear from you're the first person that we've talked to from this movie, and yeah, that's. It was,
Well, I hope that I didn't diminish anything.
no, I think if anything, you've just stoked the fire.
You made me appreciate Steve more.
Yeah, Steve was amazing. Never saw him again in life. Never saw him again. And that's how it was. You see a person one day, and then you would never see them anymore.
Well, I do hope that you and Matt Hannon do get back in contact soon, because we know we would love to see you guys on screen again.
Well, we'll see what happens. You know, like I said, I want to get back to LA, and then.
When are you planning on going back?
Like I have, I have these movies. I got 2 movies to sell, and I wouldn't mind working with Matt again. We get along really well, and so we'll see what happens.
You said 2 movies to sell. Are these movies other people have come to you about that you're gonna pitch, or are these your own ideas?
No, I have scripts that my friends have sent me because I got all this there's a claim from Samurai Cop.
Uh-huh.
I have a couple of scripts here. My friends would like me to bring on to people. I don't know if I really want to do that. I'm not sure yet. I just really want to get back to California.
Of course.
Again, like I said, I wouldn't mind playing Frank Washington again because I really know who he is now.
Yeah.
But I want to broaden my horizons. I just want to see. Also, I got to learn about Hollywood again because I haven't been in LA. Probably it's been about at least 5 or 6 years because I haven't been there since we did Samurai Cop 2. So a lot has changed, especially technology wise. Because I have a friend of mine. He's there all the time. He does a lot of commercials and he gets good parts. And just from the technology standpoint, and I'm lost with that. But that's where he is. But he fits in. I'm a leading man. I'm 6'5", and I have this voice, so I have to play. I'm like the black quarterback. I can get really serious, but and I think America's changing where you can put a black man in a place of authority. Mm-hmm. That's primarily, although I do have the comedic side, but I do have this serious side, and that's really what I would like to do when I get back to LA. Is use my experience, my age, and play a person of direction of teaching because of being on the planet for so long.
Of course.
So I like to do stuff like that.
Well, I definitely let us know how it goes for you. When are you planning on moving back?
Well, I'm waiting for an investment of mine to come through, which I've been waiting for a while, but it's getting closer. And I think I'll probably be by the end of March, beginning of April. And I'm going to talk to this guy about this film.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's, he's done a number of films. He believes he's going to get the money. I'm just wondering, and again, I haven't talked to Matt. I don't know if that should be a vehicle where we're seen together or not. If Matt wants to do it, could be cool. Maybe I don't want to do it. Because again, I think maybe when we're on the screen together, it should be something that's just about me and him.
Mm-hmm.
Just so when you guys do reunite again, it's not just
right.
It's not
here.
Yeah, it's not taken for granted. No, I get it.
Yeah, so along those lines. Well, I hope we were able to. I had a good time talking with you guys, and I always like to talk about Samurai Cop. It brings about great memories. And again, it's like, again, this happened over 30 years ago. Over 30 years, and it's like it happened yesterday. Because it just goes on. And I bet you this will not be the last interview I have. Somebody else is going to find out about this movie, and then they're going to ask me for another interview because that's how it's been since it's been rediscovered again. It just keeps going on, and whatever people see in it, and obviously people see a lot of different things about it. It's very personal to them. And the main thing I asked, because my actor friend, who I respect a lot, he's watched it. He believes that it's a good storyline where you don't have to concentrate too much, especially how the modern day movies are. There's beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. The good guys win in the end. You have fun along the journey, and then all these odd characters, and that's Samurai Cop. That's it.
And most importantly, the Samurai Cop gets laid at the end, as symbolized by the tide splashing up against the giant rock. Yep.
that was Samurai Cop 2, right?
No, well, maybe. I definitely know it was the end of.
It had to be one Well, inside story. The second one, I think they did the same thing. He didn't have the chemistry with Caden that he had with the first girl.
Yeah.
You could tell. If you look, you could tell there's a different chemistry there between her. Plus, she's a porn star, so they have a different slant on things. So
probably, yeah. I mean, it's very entertaining to watch Matt Hannon. Like he had that way of making it feel like it was improv, even though you said that everything was written, what was said. But when he's talking about how he made the chicken dinner for Jennifer, he's like, "Yeah, I caught some chickens and I hopped the fence and killed one of them."
Yeah. Because another one of the things, see, Matt's a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
You know, I know a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that either. But you know, he does a lot of I don't know if he still does it, but he did before. So I think that's one of his gifts is that he can, you know, he can. Like he really doesn't like scripts and all that. He likes to get up and take it off the cuff because that's where his talent is. You know.
Of course.
So that's probably why he felt like that. And you know, so his acting's really improved. I think he did a really great job in number 2. You know, I think better than, you know, we really didn't even know what we were doing in number 1.
Yeah.
We were just winging it, man. You know? So,
Well,
I think we're all much better actors in 2, but the story, we didn't have a story in the second one.
Yeah.
It was too scattered. See, and you can't follow there's too many characters in it.
right.
See, if it was simple, like Samurai Cop 1, I think you could build on it. But you can't build on that because, you know, there was no need for Tommy Wiseau. There was no need for Bei Ling. You know, there's no need for those people because they don't lend to like what's really going on with Samurai Cop.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and that was the fun. Is literally every scene of the first one was, you know, Joe and Frank, you know, wandering around, and they meet, you know, new character, you know, a random character A, and you never see them again, and then, you know, next scene the same thing, and which, as you said, did not really have that in the second one.
Greg Hatanaka's view of Samurai Cop is a different view than the audience. Our audience. He. It's hard to explain, but he doesn't capture where I think was obvious because the audience said they don't know. It's not like the first one. So he concentrates on these characters. There was a lot of negativity, I think, in the second one. There's not negativity in the first one except for the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's because I've watched Samurai Cop 2. It's just too scattered. You know, to bring in these people, he has to give them screen time, so they have to have some type of storyline.
Yeah.
And which was not necessary. What's necessary is for us to go meet some guys, like you just said, beat them up, kill them, and then go to the next people. Beat them up, kill them, and go on, and that's it.
It's a pretty straight formula, but maybe Amir's, once again, maybe he was onto something because I've never seen that in any other movie before.
to where even the Captain Roma finally just stands up and says, "You know what? F it. I'm in on all this killing business too."
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
guys, this was good fun, man. I had a great time.
Us too.
I had a blast.
Yeah, like we've been waiting for this for pretty much 8 years, and I'm really glad that you could help bring this to life. Thank you, Mark.
I had a good time. I appreciate you guys.
And
so, Joe, just spread the word, man. Spread the word.
Will do.
Absolutely. And well, we're on Facebook, so definitely keep me posted once you get out to LA, and if you do have any questions about, I don't know, just anything, like maybe we'll be able to answer something, at least, you know, on the web series side, if you run into something like that, or just something with YouTube, we'll be or just anything, just let us know.
All right, will do. All right, guys, take care now. Have a nice evening.
All right, you too. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
And welcome back, everyone. You know, it was really cool to fanboy out with Mark Frazer. He truly has grown to love Samurai Cop. He even started with a couple other fans a Facebook group where everyone just gets to, you know, have fun with the movie. It's really one of a kind. It's even very different than movies like The Room and Trolls, where it has bad dubbing from 70s martial art movies to like really bad action and like 80s action movies to tropes from 80s cop films to a guy who just has no idea what American culture really is like. All meshed into one, which is of course Samurai Cop. So if you haven't watched it, please watch the film. And once again, thanks to Mark Frazer. He was awesome. Richie and I loved it. It was a dream come true for us. So see you next week where we have a new guest, new movie, and more action gems.